May you have auspiciousness and causes of success. May you have the confidence to always do your best. May you take no effort in your being generous, sharing what you can, nothing more, nothing less. May you know the meaning of the word happiness. May you always lead from the beating in your chest. May you be treated like an esteemed guest. May you get to rest, may you catch your breath. Or may the best of your todays be the worst of your tomorrows. Whoa. Or may the road less paved be the road that you follow. Whoa. Well, here's to the hearts that you're gonna break. Here's to the lives that you're gonna change. Here's to the infinite possible ways to love you. I want you to have it. Here's to the good times we're gonna have. You don't need money, you got a free pass. Here's to the fact that I'd be sad without you. I want you to have it all. 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 May you be as fascinating as a slap bracelet. May you keep the chaos and the clutter off your desk. May you have unquestionable health and less stress. Having no possessions, though immeasurable wealth. May you get a gold star on your next test. May your educated guesses always be correct. And may you win prizes shining like diamonds. May you really own it each moment to the next. Or may the best of your todays be the worst of your tomorrows. Whoa. Or may the road less paved be the road that you follow. Oh, well, here's to the hearts that you're gonna break. Here's to the lives that you're gonna change. Here's to the infinite possible ways to love you. I want you to have it. Here's to the good times we're gonna have. You don't need money, you got a free pass. Here's to the fact that I'll be sad without you. I want you to have it all. 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 Oh, I want you to have it all. All you can imagine. Oh, no matter what your path is, if you believe it, then anything can happen. Go, go, go. Raise your glasses. Go, go, go. You can have it. Oh, I told you, here's to the hearts that you're gonna break. Here's to the lives that you're gonna change. Here's to the infinite possible ways to love you. I want you to have it. Here's to the good times we're gonna have. You don't need money, you got a free pass. Here's to the fact that I'll be sad without you. I want you to have it all. 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 I want you to have it. Here's to the good times we're gonna have. Here's to you always making me laugh. Here's to the fact that I'll be sad without you. I want you to have it all. Side of me, they took away the prophet's dream for a prophet on the street. Now she's stronger than you know. A heart of steel starts to grow. All his life he's been told he'll be nothing when he's old. All the kicks and all the blows, he won't ever let it show. Cause he's stronger than you know. A heart of steel starts to grow. When you've been fighting for it all your life, you've been struggling to make things right. It's all superhuman strength. When you've been fighting for it all your life, you've been working every day and night. It's all superhuman strength. they cry. When the moment is just right, you see fire in their eyes. Cause he's stronger than you know. A heart of steel starts to grow. When you've been fighting for it all your life, you've been struggling to make things right. It's all superhumans that fly. Every hour turns to pain. You've been fighting for it all your life. You've been working every day and night. It's all superhumans that fly. Every hour turns to pain into power. Every day, every hour turns to pain into power. Every day, every hour turns to pain into power. She's got a lion in her heart, a fire in her soul. He's got a beast in his belly that's so hard to control. Cause they've taken too much hits, they go blow by blow. Now light him and stand back, watch him explode. She's got a lion in her heart, a fire in her soul. He's got a beast in his belly that's so hard to control. Cause they've taken too much hits, they go blow by blow. Now light him and stand back, watch him explode, 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 explode. When you've been fighting for it all your life, you've been struggling to make things right. It's all superhumans that fly. Every hour turns to pain. You've been fighting for it all your life. You've been working every day.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. I'm Leslie McCall, the Executive Director for the American Heart Association in Oregon and Southwest Washington. The American Heart Association and OHSU have joined forces with the goal to raise awareness about heart failure within our community. We are providing education and resources to those living with heart failure and continuing education for healthcare providers across primary care, skilled nursing, cardiology, and beyond. A couple of housekeeping items before we begin today. Today's discussion is a webinar. And even though we can't see you, we want to hear from you. So make sure that you put your questions in the chat box. We want to get your questions and we'll address them at the end of the program. Make sure that you choose all panelists and attendees from the drop-down menu. It's now my pleasure to introduce Anthony Mulholland, Senior Director for Heart and Vascular Services at OHSU Health. His tenure at OHSU has spanned 16 years, where he has held positions as CVICU charge nurse, nursing administrator on duty, and nurse manager of cardiovascular intermediate care and telemetry. Welcome, Anthony.
Thanks so much, Leslie. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us at our 5th Community Heart Failure Workshop. I can't believe it's been 5. Please let me start by thanking my team at OHSU and all of our speakers for today's event. This group has been working tirelessly to develop a program that really highlights the benefits of looking at heart failure holistically and how beneficial it is to prioritize nutrition and mindfulness when dealing with heart failure. Let me also thank our friends at the American Heart Association who work behind the scenes and in front of the scenes to improve heart and brain health for everyone. I'll give you a brief history on the genesis of these workshops. As Leslie described, OHSU and the American Heart Association made a commitment to join together a little over 2 years ago, and we were aiming to specifically address heart failure. Through our partnership, we've distributed patient materials for education on heart failure. We've developed a heart failure online hub. We've produced these education sessions that rotate, reaching the lives of people living with heart failure and their families who support them. And the sessions are also tailored to educate healthcare providers. Some of you may have attended some of those previous sessions, so thank you for coming back. We're happy to see you here. Today, our program will begin with Dr. Conrad Macon, who is the assistant professor for medicine at OHSU for advanced heart failure and transplant cardiology. He'll be providing us with a high-level overview of heart failure and speaking about the importance of feeding your mind, your body, and your soul as ways to help manage heart failure. We'll also share a cooking demonstration with you. We'll also discuss the benefits of practicing mindfulness, and then we'll have some time for a live question and answer session with our presenters. So I'll start us off with another great big thank you to all of you for being here today, and I'll introduce you to our moderator for the day, Dr. Conrad Macon.
Thank you so much, Anthony, for the really nice introduction. Today, we're going to be talking about two really crucial aspects in the management of cardiomyopathy. We're going to be talking about nutrition and mindfulness. Before we start our cooking demonstration, I'd like to give my 2 cents on these two topics. Nutrition is really critical in the management of heart failure. We're taught from the first day of medical school that when someone comes to the emergency room with decompensated heart failure, the first thing that you need to do is find the trigger that caused them to go into decompensated heart failure. These are things like arrhythmias and things like heart attacks. The two most common things that cause people to come to the hospital with decompensated heart failure is our diet and missing doses of your medications. The 2 days with the highest incidence of heart failure exacerbations in the United States are Thanksgiving, the day after Thanksgiving, and the day after Super Bowl. This is because these are feast meals with really high burdens of sodium from salt. Think about your brine turkey or your mashed potatoes and gravy on Thanksgiving, or on Super Bowl, your nachos or anything with bacon in it. And so it's really important to learn about these topics to empower our patients, you, with the knowledge of managing your diets to improve your quality of life and to keep you out of the hospital. So I personally am very excited not only about this cooking demonstration, but about picking our resident experts' brains about tips and tricks on maintaining a heart-healthy diet. Without further ado, let me introduce Emma Wiggum and Nicole Tomasa for a cooking demonstration. Emma is a second-year graduate student at OHSU pursuing a Master of Science in Human Nutrition with a thesis focusing on identifying variations between diet quality, meal timing, with relations to energy distribution, and sleep behaviors that impact glycemic control among individuals with type 1 diabetes. Nicole is also a second-year human nutrition graduate student at OHSU. She currently facilitates a virtual diabetes support group with Providence Hospitals for her capstone project that provides individuals with a safe space to share experiences and brainstorm challenges. This summer, she plans to sit for her registered dietitian national board examination. After the demonstration, we'll have Nicole and Emma online for questions. So feel free to place any questions in the chat box throughout the demonstration. Let's see what they prepared for us today.
Hi, my name is Emma.
And my name's Nicole.
And we are here today representing the graduate programs in human nutrition at Oregon Health and Science University.
And today we'll be making amazing grilled salmon tacos with avocado pico de gallo.
And one of my favorite things about this recipe is that it is rich in omega-3 fatty acids from the salmon and avocado, and it is perfect for the upcoming summer months.
And one of the reasons why this is my favorite recipe is because it's so flavorful, but it has very little sodium, all the flavors coming from the vegetables and the charred veggies, and some chili powder.
So to get things started, we're going to talk about the ingredients. So for the pico de gallo portion, you're going to need 1 Roma tomato, 1 corn on the cob or 1/2 cup of frozen or canned corn, 1 serrano pepper, 1 small avocado, 1 scallion, 1/4 cup of cilantro, 2 tablespoons of red onion, the juice of 1 lime, 1 tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil, 1/4 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar, 1/8 teaspoon of salt and black pepper to taste.
And for the salmon tacos, you're going to need 1/2 pound of salmon or trout, 1/4 teaspoon olive oil, juice of 1 lime, 1/4 teaspoon sodium-free chili powder, 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, 8 6-inch white corn tortillas, 1/2 cup of cabbage, 1/2 cup of lettuce, and 1/2 cup of cilantro. And prep time is going to take about 25 minutes, while cook time is going to take 15 minutes.
And the serving size is about 4 tacos. So tackling the pico de gallo portion of this recipe, we're going to start with corn, serrano pepper, and the tomato. And if you have access to a grill, you can grill all of these ingredients to charred, but for today, we're just going to be doing it over medium heat on the stovetop. So we already have the corn and the serrano pepper and the tomato charred, so we're going to take it off the heat and let it cool. before we cut it up and put it into our pico de gallo. And while this is cooling, we're going to put all of the other ingredients into the bowl. So we have 1 small avocado. Dump that in. We have the juice of 1 lime. We have our red onion. We have 1 thinly sliced scallion. And my favorite part here, we have this fresh cilantro, which just adds great smell. And then we are going to add 1/8 teaspoon of salt, some apple cider vinegar, and then black pepper to taste. So finishing up with the last 3 ingredients for the pico de gallo, we're going to peel off some of the skin on the serrano pepper, and it's okay if you leave a little bit on. And then we're going to thinly slice it. And then add this to our big bowl. And then we're going to take the charred corn and slice all the corn off down here on all of the sides. And then add this to the bowl as well. And our last ingredient here would be dicing up the Roma tomato. One thing that I like about Roma tomatoes is that they are a great source of lycopene, which is a powerful antioxidant that can help with heart health. Once all the ingredients are added to the bowl, give it a nice mix. It's full of color and set aside for later use.
And now we're going to season the salmon. If you don't prefer salmon, you can also use trout, which is also high in omega-3 fatty acids, which is known to increase HDL cholesterol, decrease blood pressure, and decrease triglycerides. So we're going to put some olive oil on. And the lime juice, which is going to give it some zing and zang. Chili powder. Oops. And salt. You're just going to give it a good mix of the flavors on it. And we already preheated the oven to 450 degrees. And we're going to pop it in the oven for 12 to 15 minutes. And now that the salmon has been baking for 15 minutes, we're just going to shred it with our fork, which I've already done.
And getting ready to plate the tacos, we are going to be using a corn tortilla because corn tortillas are lower in sodium content compared to white tortillas, and they also are a great source of whole grain. And if you want to warm up the tortillas, you can wrap them in a damp paper towel and stick them in the microwave for 1 minute. And getting ready here to put some additional toppings on the taco, we're going to add some fresh romaine, some cabbage, some cilantro. And I'm going to squeeze a little bit of lime on here for some additional flavor. And then topping with this beautiful pico de gallo we made earlier. And then Nicole is going to finish with some salmon.
And what's good about this recipe is you can add your favorite veggies to it too. That looks good. Thank you.
I'm going to get one myself and we can try together.
All right, cheers.
Nicole and I hope you get the chance to enjoy this super easy, delicious, and nutritious recipe.
Thanks for watching, and we look forward to answering your great questions.
Wow, that was not only informative, but it was also really delicious. I hope everybody watching this has either already eaten lunch or is eating lunch now. Otherwise, they're going to be really hungry. So we'll get to audience questions in just a moment. But before we do that, I have a few questions for you both. So I noticed when you were cooking that meal that you used a little bit of salt. We know that heart failure patients are often trying to reduce their sodium intake. Can you discuss the sodium content of the recipe and ways to reduce sodium content in real life?
Yeah, for 2 6-inch corn tortillas, it's about 190 milligrams of sodium, and this recipe makes about 6 to 8. Some ways to reduce sodium, I would say, would be citrus, garlic, and spices are all your best friends. Citrus is one of my favorite ways to bring vibrancy to a dish. And there's also something called light sodium or low sodium salt, which is half sodium and half potassium chloride, which has like a little bit of a metallic taste, but it doesn't bother a lot of people too much.
So I always tell patients to try to avoid processed food, canned food, et cetera, because of the sodium content, but sometimes it's unavoidable. What are the benefit of, rinsing, if you're having canned beans, for instance, rinsing beans?
Yeah, great question, Dr. Macon, and I'm glad you brought this up. So while this recipe specifically doesn't call for beans, it would be a great plant-based protein source. And the benefits that you get from draining the beans and then an additional rinse is you can reduce the sodium content by up to 40%. So that's something that you want to make sure you do if you're buying any canned foods, is just go ahead and give it an additional rinse, because sometimes during the storage process, some sugars and sodium can kind of leach out. So make sure to give it an additional rinse to reduce that sodium content.
And we all know that omega-3 fatty acids are really important for cardiovascular health, but not everybody likes the taste of salmon. What are some other substitutes you could do in this recipe?
Some other substitutes would be mackerel, herring, sardines, and cod.
I know in the video you discussed using corn tortillas, but there's also some patients are doing low carb options, and there's different options in stores. Can you discuss the best options for patients who have heart failure?
Yeah, another great question. So specifically with heart failure patients, we're going to be looking at using those corn tortillas over the flour tortillas because of the reduced sodium content, but also corn tortillas are a great source of fiber. They're high in fiber, which prolongs your satiety and fullness. Corn tortillas are also lower in saturated fat, which we know as is good for heart health. And it is also lower in, the carbohydrate content is fairly similar, but it's also a little lower in sugars too.
And then today's discussion isn't only about nutrition, it's also about keeping your body and mind healthy. We have the mindfulness talk after this. Can you discuss ways that cooking can tie into your mental well-being?
Yeah, that's a great question. There is a connection between the gut health and mental health. In a very simplified explanation, most of our serotonin, or the happy hormone, as you may know it, is made in the gut. So by cooking healthy and delicious meals, it will keep your gut bacteria happy, so it can make more serotonin. And also cooking is an amazing way to get the creative juices flowing. Research has actually found that creativity can lift up your mood, give you a feeling of empowerment, and help you calm your mind, because it requires you to slow down and take your mind off the stresses of everyday life.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. As someone who's not a creative person, cooking is definitely my creative outlet.
Mine too.
Okay, so I guess now time for some audience questions. First up, we have Hannah, who's from Portland. She'd like to know if canned vegetables and beans are a suitable option.
Hi, Hannah. Thanks for your question. So as I kind of touched on a little bit earlier, they can be a great supplement to this recipe. And I know this recipe calls for 1 ear of corn. You can choose to use canned corn. However, you want to make sure that it's the canned corn that says no salt added. And same thing that I was talking about earlier with those beans, go ahead and drain the fluid contents in that can, and then also give the corn a rinse too to reduce that sodium content.
Okay, I have another question for you. Do you have a preference between grilling, pan frying, or oven cooking when cooking fish? Is one way of cooking healthier than the other?
So I'll go ahead and answer this, and Nicole, if you have any additional comments, feel free to jump in. So when I first think of grilling, I think that you don't have any oil or any butter. Sometimes when you cook in a pan, or if you put a fish in a dish and put it in the oven, you have additional oil or butter or some type of seasoning added to it. So the benefit of grilling is you can just pop that on as is, and it gets a nice charred flavor to it.
I agree with Emma too. Grilling is a great way to add another level of flavor without using too much salt.
Okay, another question from Leslie. Do you have any suggestions to make this a vegetarian-friendly recipe? What could they sub for the fish?
I would suggest tofu. I would dry the tofu first, get extra firm tofu, put it between some towels and books and let it drain for about an hour. And then you can add all your seasoning to it and cook it on the grill if you can. But I would suggest like cooking on the pan since it's going to be a lot more fragile. But don't be afraid to use spices and garlic. That's your friend.
And then going off of what Nicole was talking about, beans are also a great plant source-based protein. Chickpeas, black beans, kidney beans. You can get a bunch of the mixed beans together and add that on for a good healthy dose of protein.
Okay, and then I have an audience question from Paul. He said, please explain the difference between total carbs and net carbs regarding subtracting fiber grams from total carbs.
So for net carbs, that is, I think our body doesn't digest fiber. So that's why we subtract the fiber from the carbs, because that technically doesn't count. So that's what they mean about subtracting the fiber grams from the total carbs. Did I answer your question?
And then one more question. You mentioned gut health. Any other suggestions for ingredients to promote gut health?
Yes, I would say whole foods. Yeah, definitely just anything whole foods, salads, anything that's not as processed.
Yeah, fresh fruits and vegetables can also be a great source for promoting gut health. You can see in some dairy products with probiotics, you get some good gut health, but I think for the focus of this, having some whole grains would be important, because with whole grains, you get a bunch of other nutrients, the fiber, some trace minerals as well, which could be all beneficial for the gut.
Oftentimes I get questions from patients about what type of oil they should be cooking with. You know, olive oil can be somewhat expensive sometimes. What do you think about other oils such as canola oil, vegetable oil, peanut oil?
I'd say the main thing to focus on when using oil is the amount. So it can be easy to just kind of take the oil and just like dump it in the pan, and all of a sudden you have a whole pan full of oil. So as long as you're just being cautious about the type or the amount of oil that you're using, and focus on that rather than different types.
And then another audience question. Can you discuss other heart healthy ways to season food? I'm guessing in a way to avoid salt.
I would suggest loading on the spices, citrus like lemon juice, lime juice, garlic, onions, all the powerful flavors.
And I personally love cilantro or parsley. I think that they're very fresh. They have a great aroma. They look beautiful on top, and they're very potent in terms of flavor. So if you top any dish with a little bit of even fresh basil as well, that could add a lot of powerful flavor.
Okay. And, you know, I like using vinegar as a good additive as well. You know, salt isn't really a flavor unto itself, but it really enhances the other flavors. And vinegar is also a flavor enhancer. Okay, so that's all the time I think we have for audience response. So thank you so much. This was really awesome. And now it's time to move on to the mind and soul. Okay. Now that we've discussed feeding your body, it's time to discuss feeding your mind and your soul. I'd like to introduce Kimberly Carson. Kimberly has worked as a mindfulness educator and yoga therapist, specializing in the therapeutic use and scientific study of mindfulness and yoga for people with medical challenges for over 20 years. Currently based here at OHSU, she has taught mindfulness-based stress reduction for over 2 decades and was a founding member of the Duke Integrative Medicine Center, a part of Duke University Health Systems. She has co-authored dozens of peer-reviewed articles, including the first clinical trial of a mindfulness for couples protocol and the first loving kindness for low back pain intervention. Kimberly is going to share the importance of mindfulness and walk us through a simple activity we can do to improve our mental well-being. Take it away, Kimberly.
Hello, thanks for your attention this afternoon. We're going to be shifting the point of focus now to mindfulness, and basically how mindfulness can really help in finding ease in the midst of the very challenging experience of heart failure. So you may have seen the cover of Time magazine a few years back, and they called this the Mindful Revolution. It has become pretty widespread in the community and in the culture. This really began in a lot of ways in the late 70s when Jon Kabat-Zinn at the University of Massachusetts developed the mindfulness-based stress reduction program. And since then, that program has been integrated into hundreds of medical centers around the country and the world, and has also gleaned a lot of research support for the value of mindfulness in the context of stress reduction. Also, Stephen Hayes in the mid-90s with acceptance and commitment therapy continued to refine and integrate mindfulness practices into clinical therapies. And so there really is a lot of interest and support for how mindfulness can help us find ease. It's funny though, because sometimes when we think about the term mindfulness, if we've heard it or if we hear it used in the community, sometimes we'll get this idea that it's like, ooh, I like living in the moment, but I'd like it to be a different moment, one that's on the beach or in the mountains, maybe in the forest, wherever it is that you most enjoy spending time. And this is one of those places where mindfulness really has gotten a little bit of a misinterpretation in the community. So mindfulness is not so much about being in some perfect moment, in some perfect environment, but mindfulness is really about being here in our lives as they are. And what's really lovely about the mindfulness practice is that it's completely natural. It's a capacity that we are all born with. All of us have this ability to be present, to be aware. And I like this little cycle image here because it shows a very simple explanation of what the practice is like. We pause, we become present, we notice what's here, and then we continue to engage with whatever it is we're engaging. One of the definitions that's used most widely in the mindfulness training community is that mindfulness is an open, non-judgmental, moment-to-moment awareness of what is present. And it seems like a pretty simple definition, but what we notice is that when we begin to practice, that good golly, there can be lots of moments we're not open and lots of moments that we're not non-judgmental. And so we recognize that mindfulness practices can really help in refining these capacities. For a lot of us, when we sit down and get still, we'll find that there is what we might call a tsunami of thoughts and feelings. So maybe we're going to sit down and we're just going to be steady for a few moments, and whew, all of a sudden there's all these different thought patterns that are arising in the mind, and there can be all kinds of emotional feelings that are arising in the heart, and certainly there can be all kinds of physical sensations arising in the body. And so this idea that we're going to sit in mindfulness meditation and it's going to be very quiet and peaceful sometimes doesn't quite line up. And let me talk a little bit about why that is. So you see this image here of this fellow behind the curtain, and we're going to play a little stress game, okay? And we're going to see why it is that mindfulness practices are really interested in helping us recognize these patterns of thoughts and feelings that are always kind of in the subtext of our experience. So let's imagine that you're home alone, it's late one night, and you hear this big kerfuffle outside your window. And you have the idea, you have the thought, oh, that must be a burglar. I think there have been some break-ins in the neighborhood. Okay, so you have this thought, and then what happens in your body in that moment? Well, for most of us, what we're going to recognize is that there's going to be a change in the breath. We're probably going to have a tensing in the muscles. There's going to be a shift in the heart rate. And so the body is preparing for what that idea was, that there's a burglar. So let's then change scenes, continuing with this stress game, and let's imagine it's a different night. And you hear, it's late at night, again, you're home alone, and you hear this big kerfuffle outside your window. And you have the idea, oh, the dog got out. And then just notice, different idea, different thought, how does your body configure? What arises in your physiology? Well, certainly you might be a little frustrated, a little irritated, okay? But it's a different kind of arousal, right? You're not going into that fight or flight in the same way. So here's the thing that's so interesting. What the meditative tradition has pointed to, and now what the science is supporting, is that it's actually really hard for the brain to know the difference between real and imagined threats. So when we imagine a threat, then the physiology, the way the body is configuring, is going to be as if that threat was here now. As if that threat was here now. So why might that be important understanding when it comes to looking at how mindfulness helps us find ease? So research has shown that in healthy subjects, that when folks go through mindfulness training, and these programs are usually 8 weeks, meeting once a week with daily homework, learning these different tools and practices. When healthy subjects go through mindfulness training, we see changes in all these different areas of the brain. And what this indicates specifically are improvements in how we use our attention, okay? How aware we are of the body, our ability to take perspectives, our empathy and compassion, both for ourselves and for others. There's improvement also in learning, cognition, and memory. And then this one's also really important. There is improvement in emotion regulation, and in particular, our capacity to calm fear. So if we were to, again, just remember for a moment this stress scenario, right? And then we have this fight or flight that arises out of this idea, there's a burglar outside. The fear response takes over, and that whole cascade of arousal. With mindfulness practice, then we might, one, be able to recognize, oh, there's that habit of mine to go to the worst possible outcome. Or there's that habit of heart of like being in kind of a habit of stress reactivity, either through the body awareness or that feeling into the emotional response more quickly. So as we learn these practices of mindfulness to being present moment to moment in an open and non-judgmental way, then what the research is also showing is that we have decreases in pain level. We have decreases in blood pressure, stress hormones, anxiety, depression. And we also see improvements in both immune function as well as neurological function. So being able to see in the moment these patterns of mind, and these patterns of arousal, when we can see them, then we can work with them more skillfully. And it's why then mindfulness practices have really been used as a helpful adjunctive treatment for all kinds of medical as well as mental health conditions. Now, this is kind of a big slide, so be patient. And basically what we're seeing here is a list of randomized controlled trials in which they're looking at all kinds of different health-related outcomes. So everything that you see listed here in this table is representing significant improvements in folks who have, again, gone through mindfulness training. So we see decreases in pain, stress levels, cardiovascular disease, improvements in asthma, irritable bowel syndrome, PMS, immune function is improved, aging process is improved, our ability to relax, our ability to feel more vigor, more energy, our ability to work with fatigue, so decreases in fatigue, decreases in anxiety and depression, and the list just goes on and on. So it's actually become very interesting to kind of look at, well, gosh, if mindfulness is showing this much improvement in all kinds of life struggles, then what might be the case in those living with heart failure? So there was a really interesting review study that was published that looked at, well, what is going on in folks that are living with heart failure if they go through this 8-week mindfulness program, mindfulness-based stress reduction program? And what was seen in this research, in this review article, looking at multiple studies, is that there were significant improvements in depression that were sustained over time, significant improvements in anxiety, also sustained up to a year, decreases in self-perceived burden. And basically what that points to is that, we can have a symptom like fatigue or breathlessness, or, maybe that we have pain or discomfort in some parts of the body. And that can be a real burden, right? And it can really absorb a lot of our attention. Or we can have similar levels of those challenges, whatever they may be, but they're just not that much of a burden. Another way of naming this would be that we feel like we can cope with them. Right? They're not that big of a deal. So this self-perceived burden also improved. And then with physical outcomes in these trials, there were significant reductions in fatigue and breathlessness, as well as unsteadiness and dizziness. So it's really encouraging that these tools could be really, really helpful as those are navigating heart failure challenges. So what I'd like to do with the last little bit of time that we have today is I'd like to kind of introduce a couple of the basic practices that we use in mindfulness training. And there are two primary ways in which we work with the breath. One is a gentle guiding of breath, and this one can be really helpful for when the system feels stressed, feels kind of aroused, right? Something feels unsettled. And this is the 3-part breath. So let's play with this one first. So what I'd like you to do is, as comfortably as you can, let your body be in an upright position. So let your spine have a sense of dignity, a sense of elegance. And then let's let one hand rest on the chest and the other hand rest on the low belly. And then for just a moment, just feel how you're breathing. Notice if the breath feels shaky or smooth. Notice if it feels deep or shallow, cool or warm. Now, when the next inhalation begins, see what it would be like to let your low belly soften and round into your hand just a bit. And as you breathe out the belly, you'll just sink back towards your spine. Breathing in, let your low belly soften. Breathing out, let your belly sink. Now this time when you breathe in, see if you can let your belly soften and then let your ribs expand left and right. No need to force, just go gentle. Breathing out, just let go. Breathing in, let the belly soften, let the ribs expand. Breathing out and letting go. Now this time, as you breathe in, can you let your belly soften, your ribs expand, and your chest ever so gently broaden. As you breathe out, just let go. And just one more time, breathing in, soft belly, expansive ribs, broadened chest. Breathing out and letting go. Now just let the breath breathe itself. Let your hands rest in your lap. And just take a moment, notice how you feel. And now another primary practice with mindfulness is what we call breath awareness. So in this practice, we're not trying to make breath have a certain rhythm, a certain tempo. We're just going to see what it would be like to simply let attention rest in the feeling of breath. So let things be simple. Feeling of the in-breath and the feeling of the out-breath. For most of us, it won't take long for attention to wander off. Maybe it heads towards the thinking mind, which is where it likes to hang out. It's totally natural, just notice. And with the gentleness with which you might take the hand of a small child, simply welcome attention back. Again, simply rest in the feeling of breath. Regardless of how often attention is drawn in a different direction, no harm, no foul, we just notice. And truly, with a sense of kindness, a sense of graciousness, non-judgmental. Just welcome attention back to the feeling of breath. So when you're ready, you can let your eyes open. So those are the two primary breath practices that are used in mindfulness training. Again, the first one is really to help the nervous system settle down when it feels agitated or stirred up. And the second one, breath awareness, is really letting attention begin to rest in a different aspect of experience from what we might call the commenting mind. Kind of that ticker tape of experience. The mind is kind of always telling stories, commenting, remembering, anticipating, all the immense creativity that it generates. So with many of the mindfulness practices, what we're doing is beginning to just let attention rest somewhere else. Because as we played with in the stress scenario, attention focused on the thinking mind, right, is going to be in ways that are sometimes really surprising, driving the physiology. So we're letting the whole system begin to settle by letting attention rest somewhere else. So we also use this capacity with something that's called the body scan, where we're just letting attention rest in the sensations of the body, just as they are. And then our final primary practice in mindfulness is looking at kind of working with the emotional heart and actually working directly with love. So the loving kindness meditation really trains ourselves to stay as connected to love as we can. So I certainly appreciate your time and attention today. And I do hope these practices in some ways helped you find a sense of ease. And for those of you interested, we'll be sharing a couple of small recorded samples of these practices so that you can explore this on your own.
Thank you so much, Kimberly, for that really awesome presentation. I could definitely use some of those techniques in my daily life as well. That looks like it's all the time that we have today. Thank you all for your questions, and thank you for the wonderful panelists for sharing this valuable information. I'm going to now turn it over to Leslie to close us out.
Thank you, Dr. Macon, for leading us through today's discussion. And thank you everyone for joining our conversation on heart failure and the importance of feeding your body, mind, and soul. A special thanks to all our presenters for the wonderful information they shared with us today. And as shared, we will be sending a follow-up email with the recipe and resources from today's discussion, including a link to our online resource hub. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.